Chag Sameach, a happy Shavuot and an early Shabbat Shalom too from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. So friends, you may have heard of the Frenchman, the Italian, and the Jew who were sentenced to death. Just before the death sentence, the executor comes to them and says, I will give you one last wish. If you'd like, which wish do you choose? The Italian says, well, just before you sentence me to death, if you don't mind, I'll have a whole meal with Italian cuisine, from spaghetti to lasagnas, from Nespressos to pizzas. The French says almost the same thing. If you don't mind, before you sentence me to death, I'd like a whole meal with French cuisine, from baguettes to camemberts. The Jew then is approached, what would you like as your last wish? The French says, I'd also like a similar request, like a Jewish meal with gefilte fish, matzo ball soup, and also a bowl of strawberries. They say to him, well, this is not the season of strawberries. The season of strawberries is in 6 months. The Jew says, well then, I'll wait. Well, friends, we've been waiting now for 49 days, ever since we started counting the Omer on Passover, on the second day of Passover, until today, for this festival to emerge, the festival of Shavuot, that will celebrate the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai 3,333 years ago to date. This giving of the Torah is reenacted and relived by each and every one of us as we enter into Shavuot, so that we too can accept the Torah once again upon ourselves, internalize its eternal teachings, and ensure that it becomes our GPS for life. But if we go back to the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai and the way the Torah describes it, we will learn that there was a whole sound and light show, including the fact that the Jewish people were able not just to hear the voices in the sound and light show, but also to see the voices. In the words of the verse, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, the entire nation were able to see the voices. But how can one see a voice? I understand that scientifically, perhaps today, with the technology that exists, we can see voices, but did they have the technology then? And why does the Torah think that it is so important to mention that the nation of Israel saw the voices during this majestic event in Jewish history? But the answer, my friends, speaks to one of the keys of this festival of Shavuot, starting tonight until Saturday night, and one of the secrets of life. You see, there are two types of seeing. There is seeing that which our naked eyes see. We can see the externalities of life. We can see bodies when we see people. We can see surfaces. But there is another type of seeing. And that seeing is when we can penetrate that which the naked eye sees and see people's souls, not just bodies. See indeed the feelings, the emotions, connect to the being, the entire being of people as we interact with them. That's a whole different type of seeing. It's no coincidence that in the Hebrew language, the word for clothing is beged, because beged is also the exact same word as the word for betrayal. The vowels are different, bagad, but still the same word. Why? Because the clothing that we see, or that which our naked eye sees, betrays us. I know that in English the expression is seeing is believing, but in Judaism seeing is not believing, because the clothes that we see really are not representatives of the person, of the inner makings of the person. Indeed, we cannot judge a book by its cover. We have to use the other type of seeing, the soulful type of seeing, the divine type of seeing, the seeing that sees that which the eye, the physical eye, will never be able to grasp, yet that which the spiritual eye will always connect to and always truly celebrate and appreciate. This is what God was telling us on Mount Sinai. If you wish to become my nation, If you wish to celebrate the Torah and its teachings, then develop your other type of seeing. V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, the entire nation could see the voices, because this, God was telling us, is the way I want you to lead your lives. When you see darkness, search for the light with your spiritual eye within that darkness. When you are faced with despair, search for the hope within that despair with your spiritual eye. When you see bodies, search with your spiritual eye for the soul that lies beneath it. This is what it means to live meaningfully with the Torah, following the ways of the Torah. This is what it means to live meaningfully as a Jew, and yes, even as a human being. Friends, I'm reminded of a story that I personally experienced just a few months ago when I was called to a local hospice to visit a dying Jew. And I came into the room, and the Jew tells me, "You, Rabbi, stand for everything I dislike in the world." I said to him, "If that's the case, why did you just ask that I come in?" He said to me, "Well, I don't know, but there is something in me that tells me that I need to see a rabbi before I die." Then he went on to speak about his parents and his grandparents. And he went on to speak about how at this moment between life and death, between this world and the next, he senses them like he has never sensed them before. He can almost see them. I said to him, "Oh, now I understand. You're using your spiritual eye. You're using that which the naked eye, the vision that the naked eye cannot grasp. Let's pray together." We put the tefillin on together. He said the Shema with tears flowing from his eyes. And the next morning, this man who was finally able to open his spiritual eyes at his very last moments of life passed away. Friends, we ought not to wait for that last moment to develop the second type of seeing, to be able to develop the spiritual eye that God so wanted us to use already from the moment of the giving of the Torah 3,333 years ago. This is really the only way to live a meaningful and purposeful life, by seeing the souls in everything, seeing divinity everywhere, seeing that something, seeing those parents, those grandparents, the great-great-parents that are with us and cheer us from the heavens and ensure that we follow their pathway. Perhaps this is also the reason why Yizkor is recited on Shavuot. Yes, our loved ones are not with us anymore. They may be with us, but we cannot see them. Thus we recite Yizkor to remind ourselves that we ought to continue to use our spiritual eye to connect with them, and to know that although the physical eye cannot see them, they are surely blessing us from the heavens, connecting with us, and what is left only is for us to connect with them, to dig further, and to become one with them. I believe, my friends, that this is one of the great lessons of the COVID-19 era, because we have relied so much on our physical senses to communicate with the world, and all of a sudden this pandemic came, and we were robbed from everything our eyes saw, from everything our hands touched, from everything our ears heard, and from everything our other senses were also able to sense. And all of a sudden, we understood that that which our physical senses touch and hear and see is not the real reality. The only real reality is that which our spiritual eyes and our other spiritual senses, like hearing, really see, really feel, really hear, really touch. That is the divine reality that forever exists. That is the only certainty that truly endures all pandemics, all challenges, and all troubles. Therefore, on this festival of Shavuot, my friends, I encourage you to develop your spiritual eyes, to connect to someone that you may have dismissed just because you saw a body, to make that phone call to that someone which you judged just based on your physical eyes. Use your spiritual eyes, see the souls even in those people. I also encourage you to take upon yourself one more mitzvah, not just in celebration of the Torah and its mitzvot that we received on Shavuot, and to reconnect ourselves to it, to our heritage, and to its everlasting teachings. But also, take upon yourself a mitzvah, because that mitzvah will connect the divinity in you with the divinity of that mitzvah and bolster our ability to see people as souls, to appreciate God's world as a divine world.